I am so excited that you're here today because we are going to talk about the treatment target. And when it comes to treating speech sound disorders, the treatment target doesn't matter a little, it matters a lot. So we're going to talk about the treatment target because the treatment target is like food to your body. It's like food to your body matters so much when it comes to the health of your body. So for instance, I could work out and do 1 hour of cardio every day, 1 hour of strength every day. But after that workout, if I go and stop at McDonald's and order myself a big Happy Meal, what's going to happen? I'm going to undo all of the things that I've done right, and I won't create change in the body. The same thing happens with the treatment target. You could be using every evidence-based strategy out there when it comes to treating speech sound disorders. But if your treatment target is too simple, it's like putting fast food in your body. You're not going to see change. It's that simple. We've done so much research in this area, and I would estimate that the treatment target solidly accounts for 80% of your outcome when it comes to treating speech sound disorders. And not just for children with articulation impairment. I mean diverse groups of children with speech sound disorders, children with motor speech sound disorders, children with childhood apraxia of speech, children with phonological processes, and children with articulation impairment. Across the board, the treatment target matters, not a little, but a lot. So we look at the treatment target, and the treatment target is like food for the brain. If you want to create change in the brain, you're going to do that by having the most complex treatment target possible. I look at that and I hold my fingers up almost as if making neuronal connections in the brain. And when you have a complex treatment target, you're making a very complex neuronal connection in the brain. If you choose a simple speech sound disorder sound treatment target, you're making a very simple connection in the brain. It's like putting sugar in your body for energy, or you could put a vitamin-rich item in your body for energy. So you're going to have vegetables or you're going to have pretzels. It might be the same amount of calories, but you're going to have a very different outcome when it comes to your brain, depending on what you put in it. It's more nutritious to put something that's more complex. When you put something simple in your brain, a simple treatment target, you're not going to create change. It's that simple. That's the fast food. So when we look at that, what is a nutrient-rich treatment target? What is going to create change in the brain? What I always tell you is to aim as high as possible, because the higher you aim, the higher the gains, period. And I find this every year with my research. When we replicate it, we consistently find the same findings. This is not due to chance. This is due to it being a maxim that is true across diverse groups of preschoolers. The more complex the treatment target, the greater the gains, period. So our latest study that I want to share with you today is really exciting, and I hope it really changes the way you look at LBlends. A lot of experts recommend LBlends as a complex treatment target. Let me explain why. They look at not just LBlends, but more importantly, they look at fricative LBlends. And a fricative example of that would be an FL blend or an SL blend. The reason I call it a fricative is because you have friction in the airflow. So it's a fricative L blend, and the L is known as a sonorant, a liquid in which the air flows over the tongue. So you have sounds that are very different from each other. They're known as maximally distinct. So you have this fricative sound in which there's friction in the airflow, and you're going to pair it, such as an S, right next to a liquid L in which the airflow just glides over the tongue. The result is complex motor coordination. So I like to take my hand and I like to rub it down like friction manner, and I like to have the other hand gliding and move them in coordination with one another. It's really hard, and that's what your mouth is doing. It's coordinating two very opposite type of movements, and they're putting adjacent to one another. So in that sense, you're doing Cirque du Soleil acrobatics in the mouth. And by doing so, simpler motor coordination acts are going to more naturally and easily develop spontaneously. So it's a great concept and it works, but can we do better? So let me give an example of that. Could we choose an FL blend, which typically develops around age 4 years of age? So it's not that complex. Or could we instead choose on a better blend might be an FR blend. So an FR blend, the R is also a liquid in which the airflow glides across the tongue. But the difference with the FR blend is that the FR blend is more complex. It develops at 5 years of age instead of 4 years of age. It's a much more complex movement. So should we really go for the FL when the FR develops a solid year later? What about the SPL blend? SPL blend develops at 6 years of age. But why wouldn't we do the SPR blend, which develops a solid year later, about age 7? So these are questions to ask. Should we waste our time? Are we wasting our time if we're working on the L blends? What would happen if we worked on the R blends, in which you also have the fricative airflow in the S or the F, but with the R, you have a more advanced liquid? Would that generalize, and could we spontaneously get the L when we do so? Also, would we get greater gains? Because the more complex the treatment target, the greater the gains after all. That's what we find every time and time again. So in this little study, I took a dozen children with speech sound disorders, all preschoolers, diverse preschoolers that received 30 minutes of speech sound disorder treatment weekly, mostly in pairs. And what I wanted to see is if I randomly gave half of the children splash as a treatment target and the other half of the children spray as a treatment target and kept everything the same. Would the children with spray get greater gains or the children with splash? What do you think? Would the children with spray make better gains than the children with splash? Also, I wanted to say, what about this L? Would the L develop naturally if I worked on spray, which is a more complex sound? Would we have that cascading effect because spray is higher up than splash and it always goes in a downward fashion? Would the splash spontaneously develop? So I did a study in which I looked at a 3-month period of children receiving 30 minutes of speech therapy once weekly in pairs. And I said, would the children that had splash make better gains, which were randomly assigned splash, or spray, who would make better gains? And what I found was this. After 3 months of therapy, they all made great gains. On average, the splash group had 32% less errors on standardized single word speech testing on the CAP2. So they had 32% less errors in a 3-month period. That's very impressive. But what about the group that was the spray group? They had 38% less errors. So they had 38% less errors in the spray group. So what did that tell me? In this small study, it did suggest that the more complex the treatment target, spray, which develops a solid year later, the greater the gains. But let's take a closer look at the spontaneous development. Within 3 months, did the L spontaneously develop for children who said the word spray? They never practiced the L sound. Would the L spontaneously develop? Drum roll, please. Yes, it did. For five of the children, it spontaneously developed. And that was in the post-vocalic position of the word. All of them that was the case, except for one. With one child, the L did not spontaneously develop in the spray group. Let me tell you about that child. That child did not glide the L in which they said a W for L. Instead, they said yeah for L. So that error is less typical. Could that have something to do with that? Is that something we should look at in the future? This is only one child after all. But these outliers, in these outliers, we can find more when we look at more children that produce yeah for L. If the error is an atypical error, is it less likely to spontaneously develop? That's something we'll have to look at. After all, this is only one child, and it could just be due to chance or this one child having a unique experience in this spray word. But at the end of the study, there's two important takeaways. And I say these are important takeaways because this research I have done over and over and over again, and every time I've come to the same result. The more complex the treatment target, the greater the gains. Also, simpler treatment targets spontaneously develop. What I found in this study is, once again, that's the case. The two takeaways are this. One, the more complex the treatment target, spray, the greater the results. In this case, 38% difference over 32% difference in only a 3-month span. That's a pretty significant difference. Secondly, I also found that the L is going to spontaneously develop if you work on the word spray. So what does that tell me at the end of the day? At the end of the day, it tells me I probably don't want to waste my time so much on LBlends. Now, I might make an exception if I find the child has an atypical error, for instance, in which they're producing yeah for L. In that case, if I'm not seeing progress in an 8-week period, I'm going to go ahead and change my ways, and I might try directly targeting L. Would the child that produced yeah for L have made progress if the word was splash? I don't know. That I would have to find out, and I would have to change it to the word splash and take another 8-week period and see if there's gains with the word splash, considering there might be carryover effect from our previous work spray, of course. So I want you to just take this into consideration. A lot of experts recommend LBlends, but maybe we could do better, and maybe we should do better, because we only have 30 to 60 minutes a week to work with these children. And it's our job to create optimal change in the brain when neuroplasticity is at its highest level. What do we want to do with our children is we want to give them top shelf therapy. So at the end of the day, when it comes to LBlends, I would have to give a Larry David, yeah. My Larry David isn't so good, my apologies. So I want you to take this information. I want you to roll up your sleeves. I want you to put it to use. And I want you to go and change lives, one child at a time.